Marcus had never been much of a collector. He didn't care about antiques, old coins, or rare books. Most of the time, he preferred a quiet weekend with a cup of coffee and a good book. But that Saturday morning was different. He found himself wandering through a local flea market, the kind that spread across a dusty field with colorful tents and stalls in every direction. Vendors shouted their prices, and the smell of fried food mixed with the earthy scent of the ground beneath his feet. Marcus didn't know why he was there. Maybe it was curiosity, or maybe he was just avoiding the chores waiting at home. Either way, he was drawn to the endless rows of objects, each telling its own silent story. As he walked, he noticed tables stacked high with everything imaginable: old cameras, faded photographs, books with cracked spines, jewelry, and tiny statues that looked like they belonged in some distant world. Most of it seemed ordinary, and some of it looked downright strange. Marcus enjoyed strange things, so he moved closer to a small, unassuming stall tucked behind a cluster of brightly colored tents. Its wooden table was covered in cloth, and on it lay an assortment of rings, pendants, and bracelets. Some glittered with stones, while others had intricate designs carved into metal. Behind the table, an old man sat quietly, his eyes hidden beneath the brim of a wide hat. He looked more like a storyteller than a seller, as if he had seen the rise and fall of centuries. Marcus's eyes were drawn to a small ring resting on a velvet pad. It looked simple at first, but the closer he looked, the more he noticed the details. Tiny symbols were etched all around it, and the metal seemed to shimmer subtly even in the morning sunlight. It was unlike anything he had ever seen before. He picked it up and turned it in his hands, feeling an unexpected warmth. The old man's voice broke his thoughts. "Ah," the man said quietly, "that one chooses its wearer." "Not the other way around." Marcus laughed softly. "It's just a ring, sir." "How can it choose someone?" The old man didn't answer, just smiled faintly. "You'll see." Marcus hesitated, but the ring called to him in a way he couldn't explain. It was subtle, almost like a whisper in his mind. He pulled out his wallet and bought it, thinking it would make a nice keepsake. The old man nodded, barely moving, and wrapped it in a small box. As Marcus walked away, he felt a strange lightness, as if something had shifted inside him. He shrugged it off. Maybe it was just excitement, or maybe it was the thrill of buying something mysterious. That evening, Marcus returned home, tired from wandering and the warmth of the sun still lingering on his skin. He sat at his small kitchen table, unwrapping the ring and admiring its delicate craftsmanship. He held it between his fingers, feeling its smooth edges and the faint energy it seemed to radiate. Without thinking, he slipped it onto his right hand. The moment the metal touched his skin fully, a tingling sensation ran through him. His room seemed to shimmer for a second, the shadow stretching slightly and then returning to normal. Marcus frowned, wondering if he had imagined it. He set the ring down and went about his evening as usual. He ate dinner, washed the dishes, and even watched a little television. But sleep came slowly. When he finally closed his eyes, he found himself in a dream unlike any he had ever experienced. He was standing in a vast throne room, grand and luminous, unlike anything on Earth. The walls seemed alive with light, and at the far end a figure stood on an elevated platform. She was regal, radiating power and grace, with skin that shimmered like starlight and eyes that held galaxies within them. She looked directly at him, and he felt as if she could see every corner of his mind. "You have been chosen," she said, her voice echoing softly, both gentle and commanding at the same time. "The ring brought you here for a reason." Marcus tried to speak, but no words came out. The throne room seemed to pulse with energy, and he felt a strange connection to everything around him. It was as if he could sense the heartbeat of the planet itself, the flow of life in every corner. Before he could understand what was happening, a soft glowing band appeared on his hand in the dream, matching the ring he had bought. The Queen's eyes held his gaze, and then the vision faded, leaving him with the faint sensation that something enormous and unimaginable was now linked to him. He woke up with a start, the morning sunlight streaming through his window. The ring was still on his finger, and now it glowed faintly, almost imperceptibly. Marcus stared at it in disbelief. His first thought was that it must be some sort of trick, a reflection of the sunlight or a leftover shadow from his dream. But deep down, he knew it was more than that. Over the next few days, Marcus tried to live normally, but the ring seemed to have a quiet will of its own. Occasionally, it would pulse softly, sending warmth up his arm. At night, he would dream of the throne room again, each time seeing more of the alien world, more of its wonders, and more of the queen who had spoken to him. He couldn't explain why he felt drawn to her, why the dreams felt real and urgent. He began researching myths, legends, and ancient artifacts, hoping to find some earthly explanation, but nothing matched what he had experienced. One evening, as Marcus walked through the park near his apartment, the ring pulsed more strongly than ever. A gentle wind swirled around him, carrying a faint hum that seemed almost musical. He clenched his hand around it, and the air shimmered. The sensation was brief, but it left him trembling. He realized that whatever this ring was, it was not just a piece of jewelry. It was a bridge to something far beyond human understanding. Marcus felt a mix of fear and excitement. He had never been the adventurous type, and yet, here he was, holding a key to a mystery that spanned worlds. Every logical part of his mind told him to throw the ring away, to forget the dreams and live a simple life. But another part, a deeper, instinctive part, told him to embrace it. The pull was irresistible, and he found himself unable to ignore it. That night he dreamed again. This time the queen spoke more clearly, and her words resonated with him in a way that went beyond sound. "You are ready," she said. "Soon you will see. You and I are bound by choice, not chance. Your courage, your curiosity, your heart, they are needed. The ring has found its partner, and that partner is you." Marcus woke with a start, the morning light falling on the glowing band on his finger. He felt a strange combination of fear, awe, and anticipation. His life had changed forever, though he did not yet fully understand how. The ordinary world he had known felt distant, almost insignificant compared to the vastness and mystery he glimpsed in his dreams. As the days passed, Marcus noticed small changes in his perception. Colors seemed brighter, sounds sharper, and even ordinary objects carried an odd sense of meaning. The world felt alive in a way it never had before, and through it all the ring pulsed softly on his hand as if whispering a promise of what was to come. By the end of the week, Marcus knew he could no longer ignore what was happening. He was no longer just a man wandering through flea markets and parks. He was part of something larger, something cosmic and extraordinary. He felt a mixture of fear and exhilaration at the thought of what lay ahead. One thing was certain. The ring had chosen him, and in doing so it had opened the door to a life beyond imagination. Marcus could not yet see where that door would lead, but he knew he would step through it when the time came, and so, with the ring on his finger and the memory of the queen lingering in his mind, Marcus waited, knowing that his ordinary life had ended, and an extraordinary journey was about to begin. Marcus had not slept well for several nights. The dreams of the queen and the glowing ring had become more vivid and real, making it hard for him to focus on work or even simple tasks. Every time he closed his eyes, the throne room appeared again, and he could feel the pull of that distant world calling him. He tried to tell himself that it was only his imagination, that it was just a strange coincidence, but a small part of him knew better. The ring on his finger had changed everything. It was no longer a simple piece of jewelry. It was a link to something far greater than anything he had known. One evening, as he sat at his kitchen table staring at the glowing band, a strange sound filled the room. It was soft at first, like the hum of electricity, but it grew louder, resonating through the walls and even through his bones. Marcus felt his heart race, and instinctively he clutched the ring. The hum intensified, and suddenly the air in front of him shimmered, bending and twisting as if reality itself had become fluid. Marcus froze. He had no idea what was happening, but he felt a strange mix of fear and anticipation. Then, with a gentle ripple, a figure stepped through the shimmering air. Marcus blinked, unable to believe what he was seeing. She was tall, regal, and her presence filled the room in a way that was both humbling and awe-inspiring. Her skin shimmered faintly like starlight, and her eyes held a depth that made Marcus feel both small and important at the same time. She wore a flowing gown that seemed to move on its own, shifting colors like the surface of a calm sea under the sun. "Do not be afraid," she said, her voice melodic and commanding at once. "I am Liara, Queen of Thalora. I have come because the ring chose you. You and I are bound now, and it is time for you to understand what that means." Marcus could only stare. His mind was racing, trying to find logical explanations, but there were none. He opened his mouth to speak, but the words faltered. Finally, he managed to whisper, "Why me? I'm just ordinary. I don't belong in any of this." Liara smiled softly, and it was as if the light in the room shifted with her mood. Ordinary is often underestimated. It is human qualities, courage, empathy, creativity, that are rare even among the most powerful. That is why you were chosen. The ring does not select strength or skill alone. It selects heart. Marcus felt a strange warmth spread through him, both reassuring and unnerving. The room seemed to pulse in time with his heartbeat. But I don't even know how to... What am I supposed to do? For now, Liara said, stepping closer. You must understand. The ring is a link, a bridge between your world and mine. Soon you will see the extent of what it can do. You will be a part of something greater than yourself. But first you must learn, and you must trust. Over the next few days, Marcus's life changed completely. Liara did not simply stay in his apartment. She explored the world with him, though not like an ordinary visitor. Strange things happened wherever she went. Plants seemed to lean toward her as if drawn by her presence. Birds would pause mid-flight to observe her, and even the sunlight appeared to brighten when she was nearby. Marcus watched all of this, fascinated, and slowly began to believe that she truly was from somewhere beyond the stars. Liara explained her world in pieces, each story more incredible than the last. Thalora was a planet far beyond Earth, its landscapes filled with floating crystal gardens, forests that glowed softly in the dark, and cities built of living stone that could change shape according to the needs of its inhabitants. The Thalorans were a race of intelligent beings who valued knowledge, art, and cooperation above all else. Liara's people had discovered the ring centuries ago, creating it as a way to find a worthy human partner. The union would serve as a bridge between Earth and Thalora, a connection that could bring understanding, peace, and cooperation across the stars. Marcus struggled to absorb it all. Every night the throne room appeared in his dreams, and Liara's presence was always at the center. Yet during the day he was still Marcus, the man who went to work, paid bills, and cooked dinner. He often wondered if he was losing his mind, but the ring on his finger reminded him that this was real. Its faint glow pulsed with each heartbeat, linking him to something he could barely comprehend. One evening, Liara led Marcus to a quiet place near the river. The water reflected the colors of the sunset, but there was something else, something almost magical in the way the light shifted, as if the planet itself recognized her presence. She held out her hand and the ring pulsed brighter. Soon, she said, you will come to Thalora. The time is near. But before that, you must understand what it means to be bound by the ring. It is not a possession or a weapon. It is a responsibility. You will be called upon to make choices that affect not just me, but my people. And through those choices, humanity itself may gain a place in the galaxy. Marcus swallowed hard. The weight of her words settled on him like a stone. He had always imagined adventure in the abstract, reading stories about space, imagining what it would be like to travel among the stars. But he had never expected it to come to him. Not in this way, not with someone like Liara guiding him. I don't know if I'm ready, he admitted. I don't even know if I can do this. You are ready, Liara said firmly yet kindly. The ring chose you because you are ready. Courage is not the absence of fear, Marcus. It is acting even when fear is present. And you have acted. You accepted the ring, you accepted the dreams, and you have begun to see what I see. That is courage enough to start. The days that followed were filled with lessons, though not in the way Marcus expected. Liara did not lecture him. Instead, she showed him her world through experiences. They practiced meditation that connected their minds, allowing Marcus to feel her thoughts and the energy of Thalora. He learned to sense patterns in nature, to notice the flow of life around him, and even to anticipate small events before they happened. It was strange and exhilarating. He realized that his ordinary human senses, combined with his curiosity and observation, made him uniquely suited to this new reality. One night, a soft alarm pulsed from the ring. Liara's eyes widened and she placed a hand over his. It is time, she said. The portal will open soon. You must go with me. Do not be afraid. Everything you have learned will guide you. Marcus felt a rush of anticipation mixed with panic. He glanced around his apartment, thinking of all the things he would leave behind. His home, his routine, his familiar world. But when he looked at Liara, he felt something else. Trust, reassurance, and a strange excitement he had never known. He nodded, and together they stood in the center of the room. The air shimmered, bending and folding like water. Marcus felt a pull in his chest and then a gentle lift as if gravity itself had shifted. Liara held his hand firmly, her presence anchoring him, and together they stepped through the portal. The world changed instantly. Gone was his apartment, the city, and even the familiar sky. Instead, Marcus found himself standing on a platform that floated high above a vast landscape of glittering forests, crystal lakes, and towering mountains that seemed to touch the stars. The air was crisp and filled with a faint hum, like the world itself was alive. Marcus's eyes widened in wonder. He could not have imagined such a place, not even in his wildest dreams. Liara released his hand and gestured toward the horizon. "Welcome to Thalora," she said, her voice filled with pride and warmth. "This is my home, and soon it may become a place where humans and Thalorans work together. But first you must meet my council. They will guide you, test you, and prepare you for the role you are meant to play." Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the cool, vibrant air fill his lungs. He felt a mix of awe, nervousness, and excitement. Everything he had known was gone, but everything he had dreamed of was here. The ring pulsed softly on his finger, as if echoing his heartbeat and whispering promises of what was to come. For the first time, Marcus truly understood that his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a man who bought a ring at a flea market. He was a bridge between worlds, chosen for qualities that were simple yet profound: his curiosity, his courage, and his humanity. And as he looked at Liara, standing tall and radiant before him, he realized that this was only the beginning. He did not yet know all the challenges that lay ahead, but he felt ready. The ordinary life he had known was gone, replaced by something extraordinary. And for the first time, Marcus felt the thrill of being part of a story far larger than himself, a story that spanned worlds, species, and possibilities he had never imagined. Marcus stood at the edge of the floating platform, staring at the vast world before him. Thalora was more magnificent than he had ever imagined. Forests shimmered in colors that did not exist on Earth. Rivers sparkled like liquid crystal, and the mountains seemed to touch the stars themselves. The wind carried a faint hum, as if the planet itself were alive, and every breath he took felt charged with energy. He glanced at Liara, who stood beside him, radiating calm and confidence. She had led him here not just as a queen, but as a guide, a teacher, and now a companion in a journey that would test the very limits of his humanity. "Are you ready?" she asked. Marcus nodded, though his stomach churned with nervous excitement. "I think I am." "I want to try," Liara smiled. "Good, the council awaits. They will challenge you, not to harm you, but to help you understand your role. You must learn quickly, for soon, Thalora will face a threat that could change everything." As they descended toward the city, Marcus's eyes widened at the sight. Buildings of living stone shifted subtly as they moved, responding to the needs of the inhabitants. Bridges arched and curved gracefully, adjusting to foot traffic without effort. Creatures of all shapes and sizes moved through the streets, many resembling forms he had seen only in books or dreams. Despite the alien surroundings, there was a strange familiarity in the way beings interacted, cooperating and communicating with understanding and respect. Marcus realized that in many ways this world reflected the best aspects of humanity: kindness, curiosity, and a desire to learn. They reached a large circular hall where the council awaited. 12 Thalorans sat in elevated chairs, each radiating authority and wisdom. Their forms were diverse, some tall and elegant, others short and strong, but all had eyes that seemed to see beyond the physical world. Marcus felt a shiver of nervousness. He had never been in a place like this, facing beings who clearly possessed far greater knowledge and power than he did. Liara stepped forward. "Council, this is Marcus. He is the human chosen by the ring. He comes with courage, curiosity, and a willingness to learn. I ask that you judge him fairly, as he will soon represent humanity alongside Thalora." The council members observed him in silence for a long moment. Then one of them, a tall figure with eyes like liquid silver, spoke. "Marcus of Earth, the ring has chosen you. Yet selection is not proof of readiness. You must demonstrate understanding, creativity, and wisdom. Only then can you serve as a bridge between our worlds." Marcus swallowed hard. I will do my best," he said, his voice steady despite the nervous energy in his chest. The council nodded, and a soft hum filled the hall. Marcus felt the energy of the room press gently against him, as if testing the strength of his mind and spirit. Then, one by one, they presented him with challenges, not physical battles, but problems that required thought, empathy, and ingenuity. The first challenge involved a complex network of glowing threads suspended in midair. Each thread represented a connection between Thalora's natural and technological systems. A mistake could disrupt the flow of energy across a region, harming both the environment and the inhabitants. Marcus studied the threads carefully, noticing subtle patterns and rhythms. He realized that the solution required more than logic. It required intuition and attention to detail. Carefully, he adjusted the threads, letting his hands follow the subtle pulses of energy. Slowly, the network stabilized, glowing brighter and stronger than before. The council observed in silence, then nodded in approval. The second challenge tested his empathy. He was shown visions of Thalorans struggling with disagreements, conflicts that threatened harmony in the city. Marcus had to find solutions that honored everyone's needs while maintaining peace. At first, he felt overwhelmed. These were beings so different from him, with perspectives shaped by lifetimes he could not fully understand. But then he remembered what Liara had taught him, the value of listening, observing, and finding common ground. He suggested compromises, offered solutions that drew from shared values, and gradually, the vision shifted to show harmony restored. Again, the council nodded. The final challenge was the most daunting. A rival interstellar faction, the Corvins, had been observing Thalora for centuries, waiting for an opportunity to strike. They had advanced technology and a fleet capable of overwhelming most defenses. Marcus was asked to devise a strategy to protect the planet, not with brute force but with creativity and cooperation. He studied the maps, the resources, and the unique abilities of the Thalorans. Slowly, an idea formed, a plan that combined Thaloran technology with strategies humans had used on Earth: deception, clever coordination, and adaptability. It was risky, but it had a chance of success. Marcus presented his plan to the council. They listened carefully, exchanging looks of intrigue. When he finished, a moment of silence followed. Then the tallest council member spoke. "Your approach is unconventional, human, yet it demonstrates imagination, courage, and understanding. You have passed the trials. You are ready to serve as a bridge between our worlds." Relief and pride surged through Marcus. He felt the weight of responsibility, but he also felt empowered. He realized that being human was not a weakness. It was an advantage. His ability to think differently, to imagine solutions beyond what tradition dictated, had made him valuable in ways he had never imagined. Liara stepped forward, her hand brushing his arm. "You have done well," she said softly. "And now we must prepare for the Corvins. Your plan will be put into action, and your role will be vital." The days that followed were intense. Marcus worked closely with the Thalorans, coordinating defenses, refining strategies, and building alliances. He learned quickly, absorbing knowledge at a pace he had never thought possible. And through it all, the ring on his finger pulsed softly, a constant reminder of the connection between him and Liara, and the responsibility he now carried. When the Corvins finally arrived, their ships darkening the skies, Marcus felt a mixture of fear and determination. The battle was not fought with weapons alone. It was a contest of wit, timing, and coordination. Marcus guided the Thalorans, anticipating the Corvins' moves, adjusting strategies in real time and exploiting the enemy's weaknesses. The humans' creativity, combined with Thaloran technology, allowed them to outmaneuver the Corvins at every turn. In the midst of the conflict, Marcus found himself on a high platform overlooking the city, watching as the fleet faltered. The Corvins, expecting straightforward resistance, were confused by the unexpected tactics and the coordination among Thalorans and humans. Marcus realized that his role was not just about strategy. It was about inspiring others to see possibilities beyond fear, to embrace courage and creativity. By the time the battle ended, the Corvins had retreated. Thalora was safe. The council hailed Marcus not just for his ingenuity, but for his spirit, the human qualities that had turned the tide. Marcus felt a profound sense of achievement, not for glory, but for the realization that his actions had truly mattered on a galactic scale. Liara approached him, her eyes shining with pride and affection. "You have done more than survive, Marcus. You have shown that humanity, even in small doses, can change the course of worlds. You and I are bound not just by the ring but by trust, respect, and the recognition of each other's strengths. And now we celebrate this bond." Marcus felt a rush of warmth and joy. For months he had been thrust into a reality beyond imagination, yet he had learned, adapted, and grown. He looked at Liara and realized that the bond they shared was more than duty. It was friendship, trust, and perhaps something even deeper. The council arranged a ceremony to honor the union. It was not merely symbolic. It was a recognition of the bridge between two civilizations, a celebration of cooperation, courage, and hope. Marcus stood beside Liara as the citizens of Thalora watched. The ring on his finger pulsed bright and steady, linking him to her in a way that felt eternal. When the ceremony ended, Marcus looked out over the city. He saw the beauty, the harmony, and the possibilities that lay ahead. For the first time in his life, he felt fully part of something greater than himself. He understood that being human did not mean being small or limited. It meant having the capacity to think, to feel, and to act in ways that could shape worlds. Liara took his hand, and together they walked through the glowing streets of Thalora. Marcus felt a quiet confidence settle over him. Challenges would come, as they always did, but he knew that with curiosity, courage, and the guidance of a queen who had chosen him, he could face anything. And so Marcus, the ordinary man who had bought a ring at a flea market, became a hero not through strength or weaponry, but through the power of human heart and mind. He had traveled beyond Earth, learned to see through alien eyes, and helped save a world. Most importantly, he had discovered that even in the vastness of the universe, humanity had a place, a role, and a future that was bright and full of promise. As night fell over Thalora, the stars above shining like scattered jewels, Marcus and Liara stood side by side. The ring glowed softly, a quiet reminder of the choice that had changed everything. Marcus smiled, knowing that this was only the beginning of a life filled with wonder, adventure, and the endless possibilities of being human in a universe that was finally starting to understand the value of humanity.